So we're here to solve this Battleships by Serkan called To Be or Not to Be. The theme is pretty assuredly from the vertical 2 clues, which are going to force us to actually look at just 3 rows, this 8 and these 2 3s, to be potentially this pace as the largest ships go. And as I get started in the grid, one of the first things I'm going to do is look at this 8 clue because it looks pretty extreme. And one thing to note with an 8 clue, this is a 10 by 10 grid, so it's leaving behind just 2 C's. And since we can't get 2 4-unit long or larger ships in this grid, we're always going to need to have a 4 and then a smaller set like a 2 and a 2, or we're going to have like a 3 and a 3 and a 2. But notice that you'll always have 3 distinct ships and 2 C's in the middle. So the extremes of a row like an 8 will always be ship segments. And that's if we look at the 8 on its own. In this case, we actually have an 8 with a clue just next to it that has at least a ship in it. And with that, what we can also then conclude is that we've got to have a vertical ship. Let's say we didn't have a vertical ship, we'd eliminate too many cells in the row below. So we're going to have to take two cells coming down in some way. And what that means is this 8 is going to have a singleton from the vertical cell placement, and then it's going to have 7 left over, which will be 4 plus 3. So we're going to have 4 and 3 and 1 as the splits in this row. On the left side, this is a horizontal ship because it can't come up, and this is also a horizontal ship because it can't come up. So these are at least 3 long in each of these directions. We're left with just 1 cell on this first row that can be where the vertical ship goes. That puts in a 2, puts in this 3, and completes this 4. And so finishing these top rows was the starting point of this puzzle. It also blocks off the 6th column. That now leaves just one general space for the last 3-unit ship to go, which is right here, and it can take either of these cells on the left or right to finish it out, but it always takes the ones I've marked in black, and marking off the rest of that row, which won't have any more ships in it. We actually have this row just beneath it, has 3 ships to place, and they go straight away where we've marked them. These finish the columns, which had 2 ships for them. And in marking those off, we actually have these columns we can shade in as well. And in doing so, we're now left with this point where this 8th row has just a single ship to go. That finishes the column, places a cell here. We've got one more 2-unit ship to place into this grid at this time, and looks like 3 apparent places for it, but this one has only 1 more ship to go in that column. This column also has only 1 more ship to place, so it's got to be in the last option. That finishes out these column spots. We've got 1 for this column and 1 last ship to place, and that will finish this whole puzzle. So hopefully you got a sense through the theme of how the vertical clues made you have to really think horizontally. We did this breakdown at the start of how a big clue like an 8 next to a 1 has these constraints in the grid. Even different options like a 2-7 or things of this sort would also have constraints you could work through in the grid. And then finishing the last 3-unit ship with this 3 block got us into the rest of the solve. So pretty standard Tuesday puzzle, but took you a few of these battleship steps of placing large clues together and thinking about vertical versus horizontal ships to really make headway. So hope you learned something through the solve, and we'll see you again soon.